Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today bringing you a No Man's Sky and games industry discussion video. Today we are going to be discussing review copies in the games industry, why they're important, and why No Man's Sky is the most recent example of why they should be handed out before launch. But before I get into today's video involving No Man's Sky, I'd like to tell you guys about an app, and this is a company I've worked with in the past on a Fallout app before that I've promoted, so it's a company I trust and can get behind, so that is why I'm promoting their product today. So full disclosure on that, and now let's dive into this. So introducing No Man's Sky Amino. Yes, you may remember them. Like I said, they made a Fallout version, and now they're doing a similar thing with No Man's Sky. This is an app that you can download on your iPhone or your Android and get involved in the discussion right away. What this app allows you to do is create your own niche community on a certain game you're passionate about and get involved in the discussion with other gamers in a much more intelligent manner. There's different threads and forums and discussion posts to get involved in, and I can actually learn quite a bit about No Man's Sky thanks to this app because there's so many people playing the game. There's so much new stuff to see in this game. So what it does is allow you to share your explorations and discoveries with other gamers and learn every bit you possibly can about a game as big as No Man's Sky, and that's why this app is so helpful. I've signed up myself. You can talk to me for a couple of days on here if you guys would like to sign up as well. There will be a link in the description down below for you to go ahead and download this app, or you can search it up on the iPhone or the Android. Just type in No Man's Sky Amino and it should pop up. So now let's get into today's topic, which is review copies and No Man's Sky. So I'm not trying to sound entitled with this video, ladies and gentlemen. I do have your best interest in mind. This is also not a video that's slamming publishers about their decisions on review copies, because I entirely respect their standpoint, and I'm not making a video out of bitterness, but more so because I wanted to have a simple discussion on the topic of review copies. I know it's a tender area. Some YouTubers are afraid to talk about it in fear of jeopardizing their relationship with companies, but also consumers need to be informed about the inside and outs of these processes so they know why to content creators this type of stuff is important. Also, I'm not really breaking any rules by talking about this. I'm not slamming anyone in particular. I'm just discussing the situation at hand. So for starters, why are review copies important and what are they? Well, review copies are essentially early games given to a content creator in exchange for coverage. So I will reach out, for example, to Bethesda and say, hey, I make Fallout videos and you are making a Fallout game. You should probably give me Fallout 4 early so I can make coverage for that and make more people aware of your game and what's inside it. It just makes sense, right? Now, obviously, I put that in a more professional manner, but I'm trying to talk as simple as possible because it's a much more business-like transaction. And then they review my channel. They go through the process of seeing, is it worth investing in this channel, allowing him to have early access to this game? They decide, yes, he is, and they'll send me a copy before launch. That's the issue with niche channels at times. Fortunately, I don't have this problem too often, but some channels can't get early access to games because they get so stuck in a certain community and don't show success in other games that companies don't find it worthwhile investing in their channel and giving them early access to a title. Now for why they're important. Some people argue that review copies are essentially, quote, paid promotions, end quote, for the content creator itself, but all we're doing is getting a free game in exchange for coverage for you guys. These types of decisions as a content creator are made for you to let you know if this game is worth your time, and also obviously the tips, tricks, and guides, you get them out ahead of time, because whether or not people want to know it or not, YouTube is in a sense a competition. We're all friends here. This is a friendly competition though, and at the end of the day, we have to try to advance ourselves before we advance others. Feather your own nest. So yes, getting early copies is important in the sense of informing you in a timely manner. Speaking of it being important, that was the other thing I wanted to discuss about, is that it's important to properly inform you guys, the consumers, about making a conscious purchase. No one should have to make an impulse purchase due to hype, and I think that's unfair. Now, naturally, I know the excuse is that these companies are businesses. They want to make the most money they can on their business investment, and that makes sense. I think it all stems from just make a good game and this wouldn't be an issue, but still, we'll get into that in a little bit. Not supplying a review copy has, more often than not, shown a lack of confidence in a product. It hasn't always resulted in the worst product, but has resulted in a lack of confidence in the product they are creating, and thus a lack of confidence in purchasing it as a consumer because it feels like fishy behavior. An example is Assassin's Creed Rogue. This game took the back seat to Assassin's Creed Unity the year it came out, and what's funny is that Rogue ended up being the better Assassin's Creed game to a lot of people because it was a different take. It was a refreshing story. You played as a Templar. it was very different from Assassin's Creed, but yet all the focus was on Unity and how this game was a disastrous technical mess. And what's even stranger is that the review copies for Rogue were held out until the day of launch in the afternoon, where you guys could have gotten up in the morning and purchased the game and got it before the press who was willing to cover this game fully could even get their hands on it. No Man's Sky being the earliest case of a game where people were spoiling it and they weren't handing out the game due to that reason. And then Sony ended up taking down each and every single No Man's Sky video. But the only game I can think of in recent memory that didn't do review copies before launch and still managed to score exceedingly well was Doom from Bethesda and id Software. As I was saying, a lot of people draw up the excuse that only certain content creators can receive early copies of games because of the fear of spoilers due to the embargo being broken by said content creator. But all I've seen with big game launches and just game launches in general is people getting the game early from street retailers like a GameStop employee and spoiling it anyway just for their own personal gain. Now, I'm not saying that two wrongs make a right, but if your game is inevitably being leaked, then the question stands, why hold out on review copies when you can properly inform the consumer what this game is about in trusted hands? This could also be in response to the fear and saying, well, hold on, we're just going to hold on to every game we possibly can for this and only give it to specific people because we don't want to risk us having this game spoiled by even more people. Now, what I feel is that just make a good and polished product in the beginning of this all. I know it's way easier said than done. It's not easy to make a very good video game. I understand that. But if you're creating something that you're proud of, it's the game that you want, then you should be comfortable sending out review copies and saying, I can't wait to see the high review scores on this. Obviously, being a game developer is an anxious, tedious, and difficult position to be in, and I do not minimize that at all. They deal with a lot of bullshit, I feel, and it's really unjustified 95% of the time, so I understand why they'd be afraid, even if they made the best game ever, that they'd be terrified to show it off because the internet can rip up the smallest details. But even then, I feel as if you're handing it off to a colleague, someone who's willing to promote and boast about your work. And also, as someone who's talked to specific developers, I've heard that some of them advocate review copies in the office because they want more people to be talking about their game. They want to be the next big thing. So why not hand them out to as many YouTubers as possible and get the word out about it? A lot of the times when I see review copies being handed out for games is when the game isn't really doing too well and they want just as many people talking about it as possible. But what I personally believe is, why not make it the other way around? Why not have this great game that all the content creators can talk about before launch so that the consumer gets hyped up before launch and that results in more sales? It's marketing 101, but still, these companies have their own decisions to make, and I'm not going to be able to make them for them, and I'm not saying my decisions are correct, but more so, like I said, this is just a discussion video on what exactly is happening. But speaking of that, this might explain why certain creators don't actually get these type of review copies early. Myself and many other YouTubers have heard that the press, like the IGN, like the GameSpots, actually feel threatened by YouTubers. Now, I don't know how true this is because we do see outlets like Game Informer and Kotaku promoting others' works quite often. Also, the likes of IGN and GameSpot have credited my work before in their own news reports about certain things that my channel has broken. Now, that's journalism 101 because you have to credit your sources. I learned this originally when I was studying journalism in college. But the rumors about the press feeling threatened by YouTubers is something that can easily be supported. When you look at it, there's so many of us in every single community and there's only one IGN, one GameSpot, and so on. But I don't know how that they feel threatened by us. They have so many offices in so many locations of the world and so many people working for them. They can have multiple games come out on the same day and have a day one launch review for each of them, where for us YouTubers, there's usually one or two of us. Sometimes there's a team of us, but more often than not, it's a group of 1 to 3 people. And that has led to a division now, where now there's almost tiers in the review copies nowadays, where you have this YouTuber status who usually gets it 24 hours before launch. Not complaining about that at all, mind you. I want to reiterate that I'm not sounding entitled in this video. Like I said, it's for your best interest in mind that I'm making this video so that people know that I'm talking about it, so people are aware that we need these copies early too. Because the press will get it a week in advance, 2 weeks in advance, while YouTubers who have dedicated hours and time of their own personal coverage to specific games on their channel will get the short end of the stick. Certain YouTubers have begun to register under web magazines to get games early because there is this division, this almost separation between YouTuber is this definitive lower level, even though they create sometimes the more honest and genuine reviews of their products. And maybe that does scare away companies, but this division that's being made is actually a sad truth. And I know some people's heads might be spinning with all this information I'm tossing your way because it's such a long discussion on something that not a lot of people are familiar with and can relate to, because not everyone's a YouTuber in a position where they can get advanced copies of games. But like I said, I'm not trying to sound entitled because that's not where I'm coming from on this. I am so blessed to be in this position. It's more so just a discussion on, hey, how can we tackle this issue here where YouTubers and press are being separated? Because 2 years ago, we were on the same level. Now, YouTubers have sifted down lower and lower, where now we're being prioritized less, even though we covered the same amount. Like I said, No Man's Sky being the most recent example of a game that didn't have review copies sent out until day before, and even then, there wasn't much you could do about it. But I've gone on long enough. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments down below. I just wanted to have a simple games industry discussion video. These types of videos are tough to make without sounding, as I've said multiple times, entitled or like I'm egotistical, something along those lines. So I just wanted to go ahead and get this out there and just hear your thoughts on this. I am genuinely looking for an intelligent conversation on this because I really want to see what people think about this and their stance on review copies in general and how they feel about it, because I know from a consumer point of view, it's different because you guys rely on us to give you guys that timely content. Some people necessarily don't trust the press, so when we're getting boned, so are you guys. So that's why this discussion's being made and why I just wanted to sit down and chat with you guys, my audience, about it and what's going on, because I try my best to get these early copies. A lot of you guys rely on me for my reviews and tell me, hey Matty, you're going to be reviewing Deus Ex, you're going to be reviewing the new Final Fantasy, you're going to be reviewing this or that, and I try my best to get my hands on each of these games in a timely manner, but also as someone who has their own studies and things to work on in their own personal life on top of my job, which is YouTube, it's hard sometimes to get a timely review out for these games that are so big, so massive, when I can't get them early. And mind you, this isn't just me personally talking about this topic. This is because I've had so many YouTubers come to me and talk about the same issues and feelings they've been having, and I figured I'd be the one to step out and talk about it a little bit. This isn't something new because I know Total Biscuit has actually stepped out and talked about review copies before in the past. A lot of YouTubers have had, but I felt like I should do it as well and just kind of get the discussion rolling once again, at least on my channel, to say the least. But nonetheless, I ask once again that you guys let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are, as always, in the description down below. Check out SugarBomb.com, the place for all the gamers. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.